I think you're right. Okay. How do you define?
Okay, I'm glad this showed up because I've been around since before cable, when we only had rabbit ears to get our television. And it was only black and white. That's how old I am. I'm an old bastard. But let's go through it. When I remember when I was little, TVs were only black and white. Or at least that's all my parents could afford at the time. When they finally could afford a color TV, it was still rabbit ears, but now everything was in color. Okay, fast forward a little bit. The only people who had cable at the time, because I lived in Queens, New York at the time, and the only people that had cable here in New York was Manhattan. It was Cablevision. They were the ones, they did Manhattan, and I think the Bronx, but they were the only ones that actually had cable television. And New Jersey, because my uncle had it way before I did. But this is what the original cable box that I remember looks like. Okay, and this here was the original cable box. You had to get up and push the button. There was only a certain amount of channels. This was the original cable box I remember my uncle having in his house in New Jersey. Okay? That's where it started for me. That's when I first saw cable. Okay, so then after that, in Queens, New York, we had the rabbit ears, and the first thing that came out was it was an antenna, but it was kind of like cable. It was called WHT, the movie network, Wometco Home Theater. It had HBO. I believe it had Sports Channel on certain days. I think the only thing they did was hockey at the time. But it was an over-the-air cable channel. It was a box that was two knobs. One was to fine-tune, and one was to turn it on and off. That was it. So that was WHT. Then cable came in, which made WHT obsolete. Cable came in with Time Warner. Time Warner came in, put in the cable, blah, blah, blah. We had cable TV, you had the remote, you had all these channels you could buy, stuff like that. And the picture was clearer than rabbit ears, obviously. So that thrilled my father at the time. So then you got into all the movie channels and MTV and all that other stuff. So that was the cable TV. Cable came into the house. You had TV. Fast forward to now. Now you don't even need a cable box. It's an app. You get yourself a Roku streaming device or whatever, a Fire Stick, whatever it is, and you could put whatever app of cable TV you want on there. I have Spectrum on mine. It's way cheaper. It doesn't require a box. People say, well, how come you don't have a DVR? You can't record anything. Everything's on demand. I don't have to record anything anymore. I can record something whenever the fuck I want. So we've gone from rabbit ears to streaming in a period of 40 years, maybe 45 years. In my lifetime, I'm 57 years old. So in my lifetime, I went from rabbit ears to what we're doing now, which is streaming. And that's a lot of technology in a short period of time. Upgrades. So that's my definition of cable TV, and that's my recollection of TV throughout the years and how it evolved. I don't know if that answers any of the questions because I watched your video and what you thought cable was and blah, blah, blah. I always thought of cable as the thing coming through into your house. And now it's internet and streaming. Internet wasn't around when cable first came out. We were still doing AOL through a phone line at the time. I don't remember exactly when internet and wireless routers and stuff like that actually started. But I remember not too long after cable started, then they started offering internet access through the modem. There was no wireless at the time. And I thought that was the greatest thing since sliced bread because you got online like that. So that's my interpretation of what cable TV was and has become. You all have a good day. Booyah.